You know what I love about Maryland libraries? Is that when they rent video games for free, they allow me to play video games I would never in a million years spend any money to play. Like Luigi's Mansion 2 HD on the Nintendo Switch, a cartridge that was provided by Maryland's library system. You can go to Best Buy or Walmart or Target and spend $60 on this 20-year-old GameCube game. I think it's like a 15, 20-year-old GameCube game. I think this particular game might have been a DS game, I forget. So you could play that. I don't have a DS, or I could just play this for free and probably never play it again once I'm done with this 1 hour research stream. I barely played Luigi's Mansion on the original GameCube at a kiosk when it came out. But I have a Wii right here. I can play any GameCube game I want. You can't get me to pay $50 for a used copy of Luigi's Mansion. You can't make me. I refuse. It's bad. I mean, I'm glad I got some Mario Party games for a reasonable price. They were a gift from family. But the concept of me playing a game like this for $50 is I can't. The math doesn't math to me. Again, the reason this channel exists is so I can play a wide variety of games I would otherwise never play on my own. There are some games I'm willing to play for an extended period of time in this context. This context of me, just playing random video games for science. Like amateur game historians who just want to experience video games that I never played as a kid. Although I was an adult by the time this game came out. What was I playing when this game came out? If this game came out in 2004 or 2005, I'm pretty certain I was still playing Valkyrie Profile. I was still playing Valkyrie Profile and Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story back then. Um, yeah, I had a lot of PS2 games like Dark Cloud 2 I need to play. I know I was playing a bunch of games like that. I know I still had a Game Boy Advance back then. So I was probably playing some of the Castlevania games. But yeah, I did play like Bite and Kaitos on the GameCube. I know I played a lot of Tales of Symphonia and Bait and Kaitos. That's supposed to be re-released. Has Bite and Kaitos been re-released yet? Or are they waiting for the Switch? The successor to the Switch supposed to be coming out in the next year, right? I'm obviously not going to buy one for at least 4 years because I have this. I'm like every other mark on the planet. I mean, like there are 150 million of these things. I mean, there are 142 million units sold apparently. The Nintendo Switch is apparently the most popular video game console since the PlayStation 2, which is the most popular video game console of all time, and arguably that was popular because the DVD technology was still somewhat new. So people were buying PlayStation 2s mainly for the DVD functionality. Because remember at the time, 2001, like 2000, a bargain basement DVD player cost like $150, $200 back then. I got a crappy Apex DVD player for like $100 back in 2001, I want to say. So the concept of getting a DVD player that also played video games as a living room consumer device was very compelling back then. Now, that does not explain the success of the Switch, to be brutally honest. I knew this console would do reasonably well, just because Nintendo consoles, half of them do reasonably well, just because there's so much goodwill built up over the decades for Nintendo stuff. And in a way, the Switch is kind of like the perfect answer to what the Wii U could have been, which is to say, let's just re-release all the games that should have come out on the Switch. Or let's re-release all the Wii U games we never got around to releasing for the Switch. So yeah, your Breath of the Wilds were originally developed on the Wii U, but ultimately the Switch became the portable Wii U, and obviously it's a more powerful system. There are games on this Switch that aren't even on the Xbox 360 or the PS3. And that's arguably the thing that Nintendo was able to leverage, is that by giving up on the power game, they won with the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo DS. I mean, for people who remember, the GameCube was a commercial flop, at least in most. I think it was a flop. Maybe it wasn't flop, but it was a very underwhelming system in terms of sales. Yeah, it pushed a lot of copies of Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. But I think the console sold 12 million copies, maybe 11 million units on that, and that's a Nintendo console. So I mean, the PlayStation 2 ate everyone's lunch back then, but Nintendo was trying to outpower the PlayStation by that point. Because remember, the PlayStation 1 destroyed the competition, and the N64 did fine, but it turned out developers wanted a more open platform with less expensive less expensive storage medium. With a less expensive storage medium. So they were using CD-ROMs and Sony's relatively third-party friendly platform. And Nintendo got killed because they were using expensive cartridges that were faster, certainly, but they were less. The cartridges were more expensive and less capable in terms of multimedia. You had to make a lot of concessions to get Resident Evil 2 to work on the Nintendo 64. Now, it potentially looked better on the Nintendo 64 because the 3D capabilities of the console would have made that game look better if it had been built from the ground up on the Nintendo 64. But again, that was Nintendo making the leap to 3D without leaving cartridges behind, and they kind of failed. And then the GameCube comes out and said, you know what? Let's just throw more horsepower into our console, and the developers will come back. Because the PlayStation 1 was successful, but there were a lot of compromises developers had to make with those ugly, swimmy textures they had because the floating point math was bad. So the PS1 couldn't really process 3D graphics properly, but people didn't care because, they liked the games. So Nintendo comes out with a disc. It's not a CD-ROM. It's a proprietary disc storage format. And the discs are smaller, so I guess Nintendo was guessing that the GameCube would be yeah, I guess Nintendo was betting they were going to make a faster disc processing console. There were still load times. But I guess the argument was that Nintendo thought they were going to make a faster disc-based console. And they did, and they got games like Resident Evil 4 on it. But ultimately, I mean, I think the GameCube wound up being a failure because I guess the developers didn't see the point. The GameCube had a lot of power, obviously, but the PlayStation 2 was powerful enough, and it had a much larger user base. I mean, why make? Yeah, what? Yeah, I guess this was a DS game. Why make a GameCube game when you can make a PlayStation 2 game that has potentially 10 times the audience. The user base was 10 times larger than it was in the GameCube. Although I think early on, I think the PlayStation 2 had a 5 or a 6 times larger audience than the GameCube did. I mean, Nintendo did fine with the DS. I mean, what was it? Yeah, the Game Boy Advance did reasonably well. But then, what was that? I want to say it was what was it? It was not the GameCube. It was what button do I press to run? But I want to say the GameCube. What was it? The DS and the Wii together was Nintendo saying, you know what, we're not going to invest in hardware as much anymore. We're not going to invest in faster hardware anymore. So they took the GameCube, and the joke is they duct taped two GameCubes together to make the Wii, and they added motion controls. So the Wii was more powerful than the GameCube, but it wasn't nearly as powerful as the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 were. So eventually, a lot of games just would not run on the Wii. It's I think it was Star Wars Force Unleashed, barely ran on the poor Wii. It was just too much for the Wii's relatively meager processing power. So the Wii was probably a perfectly cromulent way to play like PlayStation 2 games. It just wasn't a very good way to play PlayStation 3 games, which were far more popular back then. But yeah, but of course, the Wii wound up being the best-selling video game console of the generation, despite not having nearly the power. So I can't open this yet. Hold down the B button to run a little bit, or to skitter faster, I suppose. Yeah, the character animation in these Luigi's Mansion games have always been pretty good. Like apparently, Next Level Games does a very good job. I think Next Level Games developed this originally. You know, the guys who worked on Mario Super Strikers, the soccer game, which I think I still have. I have a soccer game. I don't know what. I think it's. I do have Mario Strikers here. I just have to figure. But I probably have the Wii remake of it. Because I think I have the Pikmin remake too for the GameCube. But yeah, the character animation in these Luigi's Mansion games are pretty good. It gets the kind of polish that I have to lure him out, then chase him. No. Lure him out from behind the fountain. I'm faster than he is, ultimately. I am faster than he is, ultimately. Get lost. But yeah, I mean, this is like a puzzle. This is like a puzzle. This isn't a puzzle platformer, really. It's like a puzzle adventure game, right? Like Zelda without swords, I guess. I mean, I think remember because the original GameCube game didn't have Luigi's Mansion 1. It didn't have dual stick controls. It had a camera stick control. And again, that was the other problem. Like, why Luigi's Mansion was the pack-in game, right? Like, I can understand like wanting a family-friendly game for the GameCube, but yeah. Although let's be honest, like it was the pack-in game, right? Because the N64 didn't have a pack-in game. You had to spend $60 to get Mario 64, as I recall, when it launched here in the United States. I don't remember it being a $70 game. I want to say Mario 64 was a $59.99 retail price. I don't own that on the Nintendo 64 I have. I do have... Yeah, I have the Super Mario 3D All-Stars. The Switch game that I got. So again, I'm at the point now where I'm buying more expensive games. Because with all the store credit I have, I'm filling out my collection with more expensive games that are harder to find. So I had a bunch of GameStop store credit and a coupon, so I was able to get my hands on that 3D Mario All Stars game. I don't need to buy Breath of the Wild because I have the Wii U version, which I'll play again someday. Again, my backlog is ridiculous. I'm not pressed right now to play Breath of the Wild. It's not going anywhere. Although I admit I kept telling myself that I would eventually wind up selling the game, but I never wound up playing it, so why even bother? Again, my backlog's ridiculous, and games like this keep me from digging into it further. But it's Thanksgiving's coming up next weekend, so the plan is to go to the library, get a bunch of games that I can play over the holiday weekend. Got a 4-day weekend coming up. I'm not gonna play Skyrim. Lord knows I could play Skyrim instead of anything else. But hold on, that's right. I can actually. I spent I spent like 5 minutes trying to figure this out. Uh, I have to use my vacuum. Give me a second. Again, it's one of these. So I played Detective Pikachu Returns last night, and now I'm playing this. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, the ZR. And you can use the right stick to aim your vacuum around. Well, it's kind of hard to aim. It's kind of hard to aim in a specific direction, though. Oh, okay. So I press left on the right stick. I press left to turn in that direction. Okay, so I stop pointing So I just aim it in one direction, then just turn it a little bit. Okay. So on the right stick, hold left. So you're turning. So it's tank bot controls. Not amazing. What are you gonna do? Your thing is supposed to come off. There we go. A. Okay, we're good. We got a thing. This game's rated E10, right? It's rated E. Mild fantasy violence. Very mild. More like mid fantasy violence. Okay. So I guess this was a DS game. I do want every like DS and Game Boy Advance. I want the Switch to get This sounds dumb. But I want the Switch to get remasters of everything because some of these games need to be available in a modern physical form. And I mean I want to play more DS games. Like I played Mega Man Battle Network a while ago on this channel. And that's a DS game that I don't feel like hunting down in cartridge form. Like the Castlevania collection, the Castlevania Game Boy Advance anthology that came out, which I need to get back to playing. Again, my backlog's ridiculous, but like I can play the DS Castlevania games. That guide. Use X and B to search high and low for clues. Yeah, X is to point your flashlight up. Ghosts love to hide. Keep an eye out for shaking furniture. Hold down the B button to run more quickly or to scamper more quickly. Press the A button for a quick burst of light. Again, this doesn't seem amazing. This feels like... Again, I always felt like these... I have played Luigi's Mansion 3 for a bit as well on this channel. It felt like an activity set. It's kind of how I felt about Animal Crossing. It's like, it just feels like an activity set where none of the activities are interesting. Which means it will keep a baby occupied for like maybe a few hours. But look, I know a lot of adults love it, but there's so much more intellectually engaging, cozy games than Animal Crossing. Like just play Stardew Valley. Like it's cheaper. It's the gameplay loop is more entertaining. It feels less tedious. It's more rewarding generally. It's like I just don't see the point. I spent 7 or 8 hours playing Animal Crossing. I kept waiting for the interesting part to finally show up. Never did. It just drove me nuts. I'd rather just play SimCity. So where to now? Look, suck up the garbage. Okay. So now I can get out. Good. A. We have to hold back, hold left, and then press A to suck it up. Uh-oh. Let me get these coins. And those. Nice key. How do I get it down? There we go. Hold on. I wasn't supposed to suck them up? Give me the loot. $5. Well, stuff's coming off that stove. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. You had to suck out the fire. That seems to work. What could possibly go wrong there? Oh, sure. Take the carpet. Let's do that. Oh, wait. What's this? No idea. This looks like I might be able to interact. There we go. I have to stand on it, right? Give me the loot. It's right. So what is this game, really? I guess it's just an exploration-based puzzle adventure. Which is fine. It's a point-and-click adventure game without having to point-and-click a mouse. I get it. So what do these guys want? It looks important. There is something to be said for the quality of the animation here. So I will say that. So I still can't get out of here. Gimme. Can't grab the hat off the hooks. Amazing. Gimme. Give me the loot. And yeah, can I interact with this thing at all? No, flashing the light doesn't seem to do anything. ZR's for sucking, ZL's for blowing. Left trigger, right trigger. I can't interact with that, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what they want. Let's get out of here. Can't be bothered anymore. I do have a key, so let's at least get out of here and use the key. I hope the game's automatically saving. Yeah, man, I'm hoping a hook shows up in the next 30 minutes, because I'm kind of losing interest. I mean, maybe it all boils down to is this mansion worth exploring, or is it just like a big corridor you have to constantly backtrack around in? Like, this could potentially be a Metroidvania, right? Is it an interesting Metroidvania? Excuse me. People suck. It's like a never-ending story or something. Again, I'm allowing for the possibility this game doesn't suck. I'm just not expecting very much. Bah. This game probably sold 1 million in it. This game probably sold like 1 million copies too. Like, at some point the conversation is not about is the game good, but can you convince enough people to buy it? And Nintendo still has that going for it. So while you're busy getting your AAA ray tracing super games done, there's this. It's a remake of a DS game. It'll probably sell another million copies. Like how much do you think? How much do you think it costs to remake a game like this? Like maybe a couple million. Like maybe Nintendo spent $10 million converting this thing to the Switch. I mean, why not? I don't know. Like I don't watch Nintendo Directs. I don't care about new releases. I just want to know if like the Zelda Echoes game came out a couple of months ago. Like actually, I think it came out in October of 2024. Is it good? I'll play it. Is it a must play? Probably not. But it might be doable. It's gotta be better than Super Princess Showtime. Like that's an example of like, okay, let's make a really, generic platformer and nothing else. We'll charge people $50 for it. Like I get it, but it's kind of craven. Like at some point you want Nintendo to stop pumping out, B tier content or C tier content with a B tier brand. You want them to actually make fewer games, just make the games you make better. Like Super Princess Showtime feels like it should be part of a much larger game that's more compelling than what it is. Which feels like a demo. I mean, I played the demo, but it feels like a demo to a much better game that never got made. Like it's a filler game. And there's a lot of excitement. Again, we've come a long way. Like we aren't talking about like the Barbie game on the NES, which is just a trash video game it's just a trash licensed video game. We're talking about a video game where like what are we talking about here? We're talking about a video game like Super Princess Showtime is a game they made to fill a quarterly report. A game and it probably sold 1 million copies. And again, it has some polish to it. Like it felt like a real like it felt like an actual video game that was well crafted as far as like the controls and some of the ideas, but it feels kind of half baked as a video game. That's the problem. Some more doors I can't open. Shake it up. Yeah, spin that. Spin that. Just a second. Spin that. There you go. Now we're talking. All right. That's a cute touch, but consider the kind of game this is. This isn't a game about collecting loot, even though you are collecting loot. Stop! I just have to hurry down the stairs to get to it, I guess. Amazing. Yeah, scintillating gameplay. Just hurry down to get it. In case you're wondering, no, I don't care about the Video Game Award, because I haven't played a single game on the list. And the only game I ever will end up playing will probably end up being Balatro. Darn it. And of course, you know how it is. People were complaining about, Stellar Blade not being nominated. Like Stellar Blade was snubbed, I guess. John Lindeman's on Digital Foundry saying, you know what? I liked Stellar Blade more than Wukong, but the Wukong's problem is that the input latency is really bad on consoles. It's not amazing on PC either, but I think his whole beef was that input latency is not amazing, so it made the game feel pretty but underwhelming after a while. I mean, I'll probably end up playing it at some point. Was it Black Myth Wukong? But I mean, not exactly worried about it. There we go. So I'm not supposed to suck it up. I'm supposed to just interact with it. Too bad I can't just suck that out. Maybe it's a Christmas light. Okay, so it's a power-up. But I do kind of like the dumb canister vacuum he wears on his back. Very 2000s. Like it's like a Kenmore. It's like a Kenmore he keeps on his back. I wonder if, yeah, does Sears still sell those Kenmore vacuums online, probably? Because they were pretty good vacuums. Like, I don't know who their supplier was, but for a long, Consumer Reports was testing them like a decade ago. Kenmore made a lot of really good canister vacuums back in the day. But why buy a Kenmore when you can just buy a Shark? I mean, if you have an apartment, you don't need a canister, but I can understand if you have like a 2-story house, it's easier to vacuum carpets if you have a canister vacuum. Like I used to have one back in the 80s, but again, like those things probably cost $300, $400 back then. Nowadays, you can buy a decent vacuum for $150. And it probably lasts. Well, I don't know if it lasts longer, but people have very strong opinions about Sharks. But to me, a vacuum is just something that helps get the dust off the carpet. Everything else you can use a broom for. Ow! Took a hit there. Am I even going the right way? By the way, what is this thing that I picked up? Yeah, what is this thing I picked up? Stun a ghost. I pressing the A button, maybe? Yeah. So do I have unlimited charges on this thing? That would be good to know. Ain't going there either. It's not supposed to snow tonight, I hope. We got a cold rain today in the 30s. And I didn't bother to put up my windshield wipers. So if I'm going to the library, I'm gonna have to wait till it gets a lot warmer. I'm not gonna be able to go. I'm not gonna be able to go to the library at 10 o'clock. But yeah, the plan was to go to the library, get a few more games for the Thanksgiving holiday, sell a bunch of games, fill out my Gamecube collection a little bit, I suppose. Because remember, my Wii's right here. I can play that. I'm just trying to figure out what games what games I actually want to buy at this point. How do I heal myself, by the way? Okay, I already looked back. I already looked in there, so I don't have to worry about that. I mean, maybe there's something interesting here. Let's keep exploring, keep pushing against the wall so we find the narrative trigger, I suppose. Oh, that's right, I can use this. Yeah, there you go. Alright. Trying to make a bit more sense. What? And there's another flashbulb door I missed earlier. I guess it's kind of like the bubble doors in It's kind of like the bubble doors in Metroid. I had no idea what he was talking about. I wasn't even paying attention. I don't need spoken dialogue in games like this. I'm not worried about it. Hey, dude. Eat it. Nothing. That's right. We got the vibranium gem. Now what? Yeah, don't care about that. I'm not going to play the game long enough for me to care about being a completionist. Bye. Can I suck it back out? Nope. Oh, well. Guess he's going to die in there. Mild fantasy violence, am I right? So where else would I go? Yes, like I said, as far as the Game Awards are concerned, the only game I'm even thinking about playing in the next year or so is Balatro. What else got nominated? Did Veilguard get nominated? I don't even remember. But yeah, Balatro is like a $5 deck building roguelite, isn't it? So I think we'll be fine. Whoop. Raise up. Ah. I don't know what I did wrong the first time. Maybe I should have triggered him first. There is another flash bulb door here. A button to activate. I hope the game's auto-saving. Coat room. They mean bathroom, don't they? See the toilet? Give me the loot. Nope. Nope. Something here. Yeah, loose wallpaper. So nice little touches like that I kind of like. Little tiny flap, tiny wallpaper blowing in the breeze. Like, it's a nice touch. A level of interactivity you might not expect from a DS game, sure. Give me the loot. It's mostly full health. We'll get the coins. That's right. So I think we're good now, right? Blow out the candle. We got one more of these curtains. What was it? Yeah, that's right, Erdtree. The DLC extension to the DLC extension to Elden Ring. A 2-year-old game got nominated for Game of the Year, and my immediate response remains the same. A DLC should not be eligible for Game of the Year because if you can't buy the game or play the game without if you can't buy a game without owning another game, then it's DLC. It's an extension of that original game and it doesn't count as Game of the Year. It's the video game specific problem, but I'm like, if I can't play this content by itself, then it's not a Game of the Year. And the other problem is that you can't even access, like if you buy Erdtree, you can't play it until you get through the main game. Like, it's not like Street Fighter 2 Turbo where it's like, in Street Fighter 2 Turbo, you can just play the game normally. It's a patch, don't get me wrong. Like, it's basically a patched upgrade of Street Fighter 2, but it's still a standalone game. You don't have to play Street Fighter 2 to play Turbo, or Super Street Fighter 2, or any other Street Fighter sequel. They're all standalone games. Unfortunately, Erdtree is a DLC, and I really wish they would stop doing that. Maybe they really like. Oh, by the way, Multiverses got nominated for Fighting Game of the Year, and people are still mad about that. I guess they wanted Under Night to get nominated instead. It probably deserved it more. I don't know. Yeah, don't have anything to turn the gears with. So that's everything, right? I don't think I missed anything. No? Yeah, can't suck anything out. I mean, I admit I'm losing interest, which I kind of made clear half an hour ago, so I guess I'm still losing interest. Nothing seems to be happening here. Waste of time. Maybe later will be worth something, just not now. So, I mean, did I miss something obvious here? No, I guess not. So I made it to the coat room. I made it up here. There's nothing else here, right? Hold on. There we go. Ha! Give me the loot. Make it rain. Luigi likes it green. You know how it is. So, yeah, we're good? Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I don't know what they want me to do here. I don't see any other way. I don't see anything else to interact with. Oh, there we go. It's a little twirly humor. Yeah. All right. So here we are. You suck. Hey. Don't want to waste water, kid. Got to turn off the hot shower. So we can actually feel, like, is he getting dirty? Can he actually feel, is he wiping down the ectoplasm? Like, what are we doing here? I can't turn off the water because I can't interact with anything over here. I'll take that. I didn't mean to do that, but whatever. Let's do a quick check on something else in there. That guy stuck on this pipe. That was as useful as I'd hoped. No, there's nothing else here I need. So I can't interact with anything else that's in here, right? Yeah, I guess you're not supposed to be able to interact with anything in the foreground, right? Well, I can't turn off the water, so I don't know what to tell you. Eh. Okay. No, you don't. Hey! Got him. So you need 10 seconds of suction, I suppose. Just holding down the ZR button. Lost some coins. Guess I lost some coins, but whatever. Actual combat in this game, I suppose. But I was just holding down the ZR button, so. Suck it. Lost a few coins. You missed. I'm just holding down the ZR while he takes me for the ride. So don't hold on for too long, I guess. Same with the flashlight again. Let him go. Flash him. Suck him up. So you flash him, you hold on to him for about maybe 3 seconds, then you let go and flash him again, I guess. Done. I think that was that's a lot of wind up. That's been an hour just getting to this point. That's not amazing. Yeah, that was not, the payoff for all that was not very well paced, so that's unfortunate. Yeah, this is not an action game. The exploration feels kind of stale, I'm afraid. So yeah, so you can play better next time if you want, I suppose. I got bones. It's a silver, isn't it? Check out my loot. I got the vibranium gem. No complaints. Wakanda forever. So I think it's time to move on to something else. So yeah, this is a filler game. I tried. I'm sure if you have kids or like nephews or nieces, they'll make you sit through this game while they play. I'm like, you can feign interest in every achievement they get while they play. My parents were never terribly interested in the games that I played growing up, and I don't blame them. A lot of them were really that good. I can't ask my parents to pretend to be interested in, Contra. But yeah, I think Mom was reasonably interested in Mario Kart. It was one of the few games she actually wanted to play. Yeah, Mario Kart. And like I said, it worked on Joe Lieberman. Like I think back in the early '90s, Nintendo introduced him to Mario Kart, and he was genuinely impressed. Like apparently Mario Kart saved video games. Who knew? I mean, right now there's a complaint. I think Senator Mark Warner here in Virginia is having some concerns about some disturbing content in Steam reviews that have been Steam reviews that are apparently the product of brigades. So I guess someone got word that there might be some nasty people on playing video games on the internet. Who knows? Which reminds me, I'm on Twitter. If you're at all interested, you shouldn't be, because I really don't have much to say that you're gonna want to. I don't have much to say that you're gonna want to hear. But since I'm like everyone else on the internet, I got a Steam, I got a Twitter account. I have a Blue Sky account because everyone's leaving Twitter apparently to go to Blue Sky, whatever. So how do we feel about Luigi's Mansion 2? I'm not saying it's bad. Like some games you play them for an hour, you're like, yeah, they're just bad. This just feels meh. Solid C tier game, good animation, a decent idea about making a somewhat less violent action Metroidvania action game. So I guess there's some appeal to that too. I mean, if you want to like, I would rather just play Slime Rancher. Like the basic gameplay loop is far more compelling there. There's not a whole lot to it, but it's a pretty compelling gameplay loop. This just feels like, yeah, it feels like an activity. It feels like an activity set. So if you're gonna play a Metroidvania, I mean, this is okay. I just think I want to say Slime Rancher is actually not that cheap. I think it's like $30 on Switch. But that's like a kid's game that I think a kid could. That's a family friendly game that like an 8 or a 9-year old could really get into, and it's not as like tedious as this thing is. So again, not saying it's bad, but didn't like Luigi's Mansion 3 that much. Not terribly wild about this thing either. They're not paying me to avoid my backlog to play games like this. So I played this for free. I'm not going to complain. I'm taking it back to the library. Thank you to the Maryland Library System for letting me play ridiculously expensive DS and GameCube and Nintendo Switch remakes of said games for free and just getting on. Like again, as a kid, I would have rented this game and tried to convince myself that it's good because it's made by Nintendo. But nah. Played this mounted Switch game via my J5 Create UHD 4K capture device, HDMI pass through to my to my flat screen television, which is how I'm playing this with a relatively low input latency. The actual HDMI footage is being captured on my quad core Celeron Windows 10 education laptop with the Windows 10 camera app capturing this footage at a solid 60 frames a second. The game seems to hold 60 frames a second. So it's a good remaster in that sense. But if you want to see a GameCube game remastered properly, I would definitely play Metroid Prime Remastered. That's a much harder game, obviously. So I guess this is, again, I don't want to be condescending. It's a good starter game for people who might want to play Metroidvania and don't want something as demanding or challenging as Metroid. But I would rather just play Slime Rancher. But it's not really the same kind of game. But it has that same exploratory vibe, and of course you can still suck up monsters and harvest them. You harvest monsters by, and you can interact with objects in the environment to like get loot that you can then use to get new kinds of monsters and open up new areas. So the gameplay loop in that game is better than this game, I would argue. But again, it's probably not fair to compare it to Slime Rancher. But I just think if you're going to play a game like this, I think you're better off just playing Slime Rancher.